The new NBA and MLB season is in full swing, and BetOnline has you covered with the best odds and biggest promotions and live in-game betting on all your favorite teams. Head to BetOnline today to stay updated on all the action. BetOnline, the game starts here.
'Twas the week before Christmas, and all through the land, everyone was wondering, what will be this week's brand? Will it be a holiday candy or a seasonal drink? There was an Easter egg in last week's show, said John with a wink. Maybe it'll be Legos or Elf on the Shelf or something like that. No. It needs to be bigger and much more magical than that. Something so big, something everyone knows. Or maybe, instead of something, it could be someone, I suppose. Oh, I know the perfect someone. Yes, I think he would be just right. He's larger than life and totally iconic and fills children with delight. He jiggles when he laughs and even travels by sleigh, just to make sure that we all have that perfect Christmas day. I mean, he can fly up a chimney with a smile and a nod. How could he not be the star of our little pod? But because you find him on billboards and advertisements and in all of the malls, that's why this episode of On Brand is on Santa Claus. Ho, 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 ho.
We're all jazzed up, really having a cow. You want your favorite show, and it's on right now. It's on brand.
Welcome to On Brand with Jon and Marisa.
I'm John Glover.
I'm Marisa, and ho, 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 Merry Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho. Here we are, already at our Christmas episode. Can you believe it?
I can.
It's like when this airs, I won't even be in this state. I'm going to be in Ohio.
You'll be slurping down a bowl of chili spaghetti.
Yeah, I'll have Skyline Chili, which is a local brand in Cincinnati that I hope to do at some time. We were going to wear maybe ugly sweaters today. I only had one, a Star Wars one. I couldn't find it. It's the closest thing I had. Everybody's Records. It's a Cincinnati record store. Shout out to them.
Hoarder's Dilemma. Have it all. Can't find Jack. Squat.
Wow. So we're starting off the holiday episode with a slam. It is true, though. Sometimes I usually kind of know about where things are, but sometimes it's hard to get to them. So Christmas parties. Have you gone to any Christmas? Okay, before we get to that, let's start with a gripe. I feel like I always like to start. I'm always a little mad about
A bit
something.
of a Grinch, a bit of a Scrooge.
But also, I was going to try to rhyme something with Scrooge that's good.
Spooge? You're a bit of a Christmas spooge?
No, I didn't say that. You always try to make everything dirty. I'm just trying to complain about how big my head is.
What?
Yeah,
That's
see?
where you were going with this?
Yes, okay, so for most of my life, things like this Santa Claus hat have a label in them that say one size fits all. About 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they started to change that. And it would say one size fits most. And I really appreciate that. I have like a 25-inch head. Nothing fits me. It's so frustrating.
Were you the person who sued the hat company to say this is false advertising? Because that does seem very on brand for you.
I've never brought a lawsuit, but I'm not opposed to it.
It'll happen someday.
I'm just going to sue because of my big head.
You say one size fits all? Let the jury decide.
I mean, it is hurtful. I'm already single, and I'm just alone in Walgreens putting on this tiny hat. It doesn't say Kid Santa hat. It says Santa's hat, one size fits all. And I'm stretching it, trying to get it over my noggin.
You know, when you came in and you put on a Santa hat, do you want to know what was the first thought?
What?
He found a hat that fits.
Well, what is frustrating, not only could I not find my ugly sweater, I also have a very nice Santa hat somewhere that I would take to Ohio every year. I would take it to Ohio every year for Christmas and almost never wear it, but it always went with me just in case. I can't find that one. It felt like Santa Hat Deluxe, like it's like a nicer fake fur, very generously sized. And here I am running around an hour before the pod. They didn't have anything at Target. Walgreens just found a sad little box of tiny little Santa hats.
You might have Santa's actual hat. It sounds like very luxurious. It sounds like, I imagine Santa has a big head too.
Yeah, I would. He seems like he is. Well, it depends which Santa, and we're going to get into that. Man, everyone is in for a sleigh ride today.
There's going to be I have a feeling, a lot of good, fun facts to share at your next Christmas party / cookie swap, white elephant, secret Santa exchange.
I think for this episode, you may want to grab a pen and paper. There's a lot of names. There's a lot of players in this world of Santa Claus. You won't even believe it. Okay, so we're coming up on the mid to end of December. Have you gone to any fantastic Christmas parties? I'm going to one tonight. It's one of several that I was invited to this month. And I'm not gloating about that. I just tend to get invited to a lot of holiday parties. This week, I went to my friend Terry's holiday party.
Yes, it seemed like quite a spread.
Yeah, it was a cocktail and cookie party. Everyone was encouraged to bring a cookie, so there was just tons of cookies everywhere.
Did you bring a cookie?
I did. Mine were from Trader Joe's, but
okay.
You know, I brought a couple things from Trader
Peppermint Jojo?
It was like a fancy graham cracker that had like a honey drizzle and stuff on it.
That's
and then
fun.
A box of like assorted truffles. You know that like really long box that's like a yardstick with like 10 truffles.
Yeah, I feel like that's also a good box to keep by your bed in case there's an intruder.
Yes.
It's like 3 feet of like solid truffle.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, you could beat someone to death with it. I think that's the intent. Use it to beat people to death and then have a treat and
in
reward
celebration
yourself.
of saving your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was fun. There was a lot of really good cookies there. Really good, like a hamburger truck thing. They were set up outside, but I assume they were
wow. This is quite a fancy soiree.
Yeah, it was very fancy.
I haven't been to any Christmas parties.
None?
Nope.
Now, isn't this how I felt? Wasn't there something barbecues. I'm no longer ever invited to summer barbecues.
Yes, I have one Christmas party tonight, but I have been plagued by illness for the past seemingly 2 months.
Yeah, you're very coughy.
Very bronchitis, inflamed bronchial tubes. You know, if you're out there in listener land, I'm sure you know, cold and flu season, it ravages the best of us. And I'm doing everything for my immune system.
So, Santa Claus as a brand, were you surprised? Did you have ideas that that's what we were doing?
Santa's huge. I mean, he's arguably the most famous man at Christmas time. Arguably.
I would say he is arguably one of the most recognized brands on Earth.
Yeah, so it would be what? Him,
Mickey Mouse,
Snoopy,
the Gordon Fisherman, Little Debbie,
the Morton Salt Girl,
always looking back. She should be looking forward.
The Coppertone baby getting her little undies pulled off by a
puppy
dog.
Yeah, so all
there
those.
was a time where I thought that would be a fun, sexy Halloween costume. Is the Coppertone baby. And you wear pasties, and then you have your...
What? You want to sexify her?
Well, you know, it's ironic.
Okay.
My generation, we love irony.
No, my generation, I remember when she first hit the scene.
You're very reverent for the Coppertone baby. You don't want anybody to make a joke about her.
Yeah, she's part of my childhood. So we're on our 31st episode of On Brand. What have we learned about brands thus far? That one of the most important things in a good brand is consistency. You want consistency. You want people to recognize it immediately and know that that's what that brand is. Well, in the early 1800s, Santa Claus's consistency did not exist, not even remotely.
Really? It was like one year he's like a little green Martian, the next year he's like a giraffe.
Well, not a giraffe, but yeah, I mean, depending on who was depicting him, he could be tall, he could be short, he could have a beard, no beard, long beard, he could be skinny, he could be fat. Sometimes he was the size of an elf, sometimes he was very tall. His clothes were all over the place, from robes to furs.
I hate that.
No, I love that.
No, I hate it.
Okay.
I want Santa to be the same.
Well, guess what?
What?
Spoiler, he's going to get there.
Okay, great.
It's going to take about 140 years for him to get there. And he is the product of a large amount of very famous people, famous writers, other famous brands that have all contributed to him over the years to get to where we are now. So, why don't we dive in? What I wanted to ask you at the beginning of this...
Do I believe in Santa? Yes.
You do?
Yes.
I do too, because as you know, I have a stocking and it gets filled every year. I don't know who does it.
You don't know how, but you wake up in the morning, you say, he came.
He came. I get really drunk, fill my stocking, pass out, forget about it.
Eat a plate of cookies, drink a few glasses of milk.
I love that you brought up the cookies because there's an interesting way that came about
Can't
as
wait.
well. All right, so what I wanted to ask you about Santa Claus is if you were on like the $100,000 pyramid, do you know that show?
Yeah.
And at the end, you're like giving clues and you're reading this big triangle of things, and one of them is Santa Claus. What are you going to say to me to get me to guess Santa Claus? What are those key words?
Red suit.
Okay, great. And I'm going to be really dumb and not get it.
Okay, you're still not getting
Yeah.
it. Red suit.
I don't know more.
Big sack. Sack of presents. Sack of presents.
Clue 2. His big sack.
Big sack.
Okay,
His iconic big sack.
A guy I hooked up with in Ohio.
Only one.
I mean, only one that I would really say big sack. I mean, big.
How big we talking?
I mean, I was concerned. I asked him if he was okay. He said it had always been that way.
That doesn't mean it's okay.
No, it would have made...
Like grapefruit?
I'm blushing.
Softballs?
This is off on brand after dark. All right, so big sack, I don't know.
Whitebeard.
Okay, yeah. So we're Whitebeard.
Belly that jiggles like a bowl full of jelly.
Yeah, rides in a sleigh, has reindeer, stockings, naughty and nice, all those things. There's a list of things that describe him very well. And it took a lot to get there. So let's start off 300 years ago. The Dutch come to America.
You remember.
Okay. What do I usually say when I come over to Pod? I'm like, hey, I just want you to know you look beautiful.
Yeah, you do that.
And then you're like, thanks, old man. Go find a big sack to suck.
Go enjoy your Christmas parties, Mr. Popular.
I can't help it. Maybe that's why I'm invited to more parties.
I'm stuck at home coughing. Got a baby with an ear infection. You want to swap lives?
You made these choices 300 years ago. The Dutch come to America. With them, they bring a lot of Dutch traditions, including Sinterklaas. Sinterklaas. Also known as Sint Nicholas, also known as Saint Nick to a degree. Saint Nicholas is an ancient Turkish saint who traveled the countryside to assist the poor and sick, and he was known for his generous spirit and is the patron saint of children. This is our first seed. So they come to America. This is one of the things they bring with it. He's an older man. He has a fluffy beard. But he dresses more in like religious robes and has kind of like a popey hat. So he's not quite there from what we know.
We're getting there. He's old, beard, okay.
We're getting there. He's got a long curled staff. So with Sinterklaas and St. Nicholas, there was what they called St. Nicholas Day. So Sinterklaas or St. Nicholas Day is on December 6th. And the night before, he would come into the homes and kids would leave out their shoes with carrots or hay in them and water. Right? That's what I was saying. This is like that. Before the cookies and milk.
Yes.
Little carrot and hay. For who? Not for him, for his horse. He traveled there by horse. They would leave a gift for his horse in hopes that he was going to leave them a little gift.
Are these little wooden shoes? Clickety-clacking?
Little clogs.
Yeah, those are cute.
Yeah, little clogs filled with carrots and hay. There are conflicting stories about kids that were bad, but we do already have in play the naughty and nice thing.
Okay.
Some of the stories say, and he's celebrated in different ways around the world, like a lot of these things are. In some of the places where they do have bad kids, he will either spank them or put them in his sack and take them away.
Okay.
He'll just take the bad kids out of the house and be done with them.
Get them the hell out of there.
Yeah. Take them away so the parents don't have to do it.
That's an effective threat. I wonder if that worked.
I feel like
little Hans is misbehaving, at the dinner table, and they say,
you're going to go in Sinterklaas's sack.
You're going to get taken away in a big fat sack if you don't sit up straight and eat your porridge.
Yeah, I bet it was quite effective. Maybe we should...
I'll try it. I'll try it tonight and see if it works.
Okay, so Christmas in early America. Did you guys have, when you were growing up, did you have like Christmas traditions? Did like you and your sister wake up and have to wait for your parents or like?
Yeah, and it's funny because I assume when you're growing up, you think this is how everybody does it. But in talking to other friends, especially like friends with kids, you learn that not everybody has the same rules.
Yeah.
So we would open one present on Christmas Eve, and then Christmas morning would be the stocking. And this is an interesting one. Some presents were from Santa, like a few, and then the rest of them were from my parents. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't like Santa's getting all the credit for presents. And I've heard some parents, they'll do all the presents are from Santa, maybe just one present is from Santa, because I think parents want like They want the credit. They don't want the kid being like, thank you, Santa. It's
Right,
like, no,
right.
I got you that dollhouse. Thank me.
I think we had that same thing. We definitely didn't have everything from Santa. One of the things I remember the most from my childhood that was so fun was when we got Grandma's box. At some point in December, Grandma would
Grandma's box.
Okay.
I'm not going. I'm just. I'm
okay,
just
we're
musing on the phrase "Grandma's box."
Yeah,
What could this be?
You never knew what it was, but Alistair's laughing about my
Grandma's
grandma's
box.
box.
It's
You
just-
guys can.
No,
it's my
just,
grandma.
It's just a beautiful two
We've
words.
got Santa's sack. I mean, I've done so much beautiful research here. We're 2 minutes in, and we've got Santa's sack and Grandma's box.
Is Grandma's box here yet, Mummy? No, not yet, Johnny. Wait a
We
few more
weren't like
days.
English peasants.
I don't remember when it was.
Okay.
No one knows how old you are. It's a mystery. What was in Grandma's box, John?
Ask for it for Christmas.
Enlighten
Santa, all I
us.
want to know is how old John is. Who cares? Grandma's box. It was a big...
I bet it was.
This is my grandma.
I bet it was. You're excited. It probably had a lot of fun things in there. Come on, grow up.
Grow up.
I'm sure she's lovely.
She passed
Rest
away.
in peace, of course. No one has grandparents anymore. We're adults. Al's laughing.
So Grandma's box.
Uh-huh.
You would open it up, and there would just be a bunch of presents wrapped for everybody. For some reason, every present of mine that came in Grandma's box was a food.
Oh.
Like I would get Goo Goo clusters, like a box of like
Goo Goo clusters.
You never had a Goo Goo?
No,
There's
what's a
a
Goo
brand
Goo
that we should
cluster?
do. All the people in the South right now are like, oh my God, he just said Goo Goo clusters. It's like you can buy them at like...
Can I guess the slogan? I'm going gaga for Goo Goo clusters.
No, but now if they wanted to stay relevant, they should get Lady Gaga to do that.
That's a really good idea. That will really put Goo Goo clusters on the map.
Yeah, nobody's going to ask what a Goo Goo cluster is if Lady Gaga's going gaga for Goo Goos.
That's right.
You don't know what a Goo Goo cluster is? Can
No.
you guess? What do you think a Goo Goo cluster is?
I think a Goo Goo cluster is peanuts in caramel dipped in chocolate.
That's
Is that it?
Like exactly
Oh my God.
what it is.
That's exactly
I
what
think
it sounds like.
there may be a nougat in there, but it's like a patty, like a hockey pucky patty with like nuts and caramel and covered in chocolate.
Yeah, it sounded like turtley. But I've literally, I swear on my life, I've never heard of it, and I've never had one.
Wow. Now that's good marketing.
That's good marketing.
So I would get Goo Goo clusters. My sisters would get clothes. It was just, I don't know. It was very sweet. We'd also get envelopes with money from Grandma.
How much? You think like a 20 spot?
Well, this was back then.
A couple dimes?
A hay penny and a wooden nickel. No, we probably got like $10.
That's pretty. Well, there were a lot of kids in your family. You're one of five.
One of five.
That's
yeah,
a lot.
There's a lot of us. I was the middle kid. Okay, 1809, 1810. The first person I'm going to introduce you to, John Pintard. John Pintard was very invested in New York. He helped create like the free school system. He helped create the New York Historical Society. And I didn't mention Christmas in America. One thing I wanted to say about it, at this time, it wasn't like a wholesome time. The main thing it was for like the working class who harvested to let off steam. So it was like people out in the streets getting drunk and like setting off fireworks and being loud and like obnoxious, I
But
guess.
kind of
Chaos.
like a grown-up holiday.
Yeah, they would go to like rich people's houses and knock on the door and try to get some money and like they're
Really?
just... Yeah, like
Wow.
they would just
That's
have...
an option?
I mean,
Okay.
sure. People still do that, I think.
I'll try it.
But it was just like not at all what it is. And John Pintard did not like that. He wanted to bring in some of the traditions from the Dutch. He wanted to bring in St. Nicholas. He thought that New York should have a patron saint. A lot of big cities at the time had a patron saint. He wanted that to be St. Nicholas. That's what he was like kind of pitching. And he wanted to turn...
No, like a big rat with a piece of pizza in its mouth?
No, we're 200 years away from that rat. But
Okay, I think that'd be a good patron saint.
And this, spoiler alert,
Subway
we're going to
rat.
get there. Yeah. He also wanted to just change what the idea of Christmas is. He wanted it to be family oriented. He wanted it to be wholesome. He wanted it to be different. And that's his contribution, in my opinion, to this story.
He also seems like somebody who maybe nobody was inviting him out for the revelry.
Why? Because...
Well, you know, everyone else is having fun creating their ruckus, getting drunk, partying in the streets, and he's inside his house feeling a little left out. So he says, you know what? No parties outside. It's a holiday for children. How do you guys like that?
You might be right. Maybe he was just jealous. But yeah, that's what he was doing. He was sitting at home saying, you know what? I want this to be something nice for kids and families.
Hi, this is Chris Howard, host of Plugged In with Chris Howard. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. BetOnline has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, scores, even live in-game betting while the games are being played. With the largest selection of odds on everything from Major League Baseball, NHL, and UFC, and professional golf, BetOnline remains the number one source for all your sports wagering info. In between games, head over to the BetOnline's casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. BetOnline, the game starts here.
If you're looking to streamline your audio advertising buys and maximize your revenue, look no further than Triton Digital's programmatic audio advertising exchange, A2X. The private exchange consists of only licensed broadcasters and top-tier internet radio publishers, assuring the quality inventory and brand safety you can trust. Visit www.tritondigital.com to learn more.
So, in that same time period, he brings Washington Irving into the fold. Do you know, does that name mean anything to you?
No.
It should. He is famous for creating the Legends of Sleepy Hollow, The Headless Horseman, Rip Van Winkle.
It's ringing a bell.
I was in Rip Van Winkle in the 5th grade.
Oh, who'd you play?
I played one of the, I don't know what they called us, one of the people. Do you know the story of Rip Van Winkle?
Yeah.
They get like him to like drink this potion and he falls asleep for like
Yes.
20 years.
You played the potion?
No, I was one of the group that convinced him to drink the potion.
Oh, okay,
My
classic.
line was, try it. It's good.
I'm convinced. I drink it.
That was my whole line.
That's great.
I still remember it. You know what, though?
What?
He did try it.
And he fell asleep.
The play was successful.
I've told you the story about how I was in a production of The Outsiders. I did a few plays in high school. It was the first time I'd ever gotten a lead role in a play.
Okay.
And The Outsiders, if you know the book or the movie, there was a character, Johnny. They changed it to Janie, so that's like, could be a girl as the lead. And I missaid a line that cut out 1 hour of the play. So this is in maybe the first 10 minutes. The families are there, the lights are dimmed, the show has begun, and I flub a line. I say a line from an hour later.
That's significant?
I say a line from an hour later. Someone responds from an hour later. The play continues on as if it was an hour later in the play, and then in 10 minutes, the play is over. So remember in The Outsiders, if you know the story, there's a part where my character was dying and says, "Stay gold, pony boy," which is a callback to a scene that I had omitted with my flub. So as I was doing my death scene, which was now 8 minutes into the play, I had said I didn't mention this earlier, but everything gold must stay. Stay gold, pony boy. And then I died. And then 5 minutes later, the lights turn off and the parents file out and they're like, "Wow, that was great. The play was only 15 minutes. I thought it would be like an hour."
Where was the teacher? Is it someone who's running this thing?
I don't. It was like, what can you do?
I mean, honestly, what grade are you in at this?
This was probably 7th grade.
I feel like a teacher could step in and be like, "Hey, we've had a little misstep. We're gonna reset."
We're gonna reset.
Yeah,
you would think.
You would think.
I remember my castmates were very upset because some of them weren't in the play at all. And their parents were there and came to see them perform.
People flew in for it.
People flew in for it. Tickets through the roof, $400. It was like Hamilton.
You get a standing ovation just for your death scene.
Yeah,
that young lady was fantastic.
Can you believe it? Oh, everyone was so mad.
That's insane. I've never heard that story.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right. Washington Irving. So I told you what he does. So he comes in and he writes a little pamphlet book thing called Knickerbocker History of New York. And it's a parody of the early history of New York. And in that, he makes references to St. Nicholas, who, John Petard probably convinced him or suggested that he do. And then there's a couple of lines in there that are interesting. One of them is, "Riding over tops of trees in that same wagon wherein he brings his yearly presents to children. Riding jollily along the treetops or over the roofs of the houses, now and then drawing forth magnificent presents from his breeches pockets and dropping them down the chimneys of his favorites." So just with those couple of lines, he's already making St. Nicholas, it's not Santa Claus yet, but he's making St. Nicholas more of a magical creature than like just like a saint who's going around and doing things.
Flying in the sky in a wagon, which will become a sleigh.
He introduces a flying wagon. He doesn't say what makes it fly yet, but he is up in the sky now. He uses references to the chimney, and he uses references that Santa has favorites. Santa doesn't like everyone. He's given presents to his favorites.
Love that. 3
important things. All right, let's jump ahead 11 years. William Gilly. William Gilly publishes the first lithograph book in America. It's a 16-page booklet with a very long title. It's called The Children's Friend, A New Year's Present to the Little Ones from 5 to 12.
I have notes.
Right? It's like, okay, let's trim that down a little bit.
Trim it down.
But for sake of time, we'll accept it. He publishes this anonymously. We don't know who the author
mysterious.
of it is. But it's only 16 pages, was written 202 years ago, and adds a lot to the Santa Claus brand.
Wait, nobody knows who wrote it?
A lot of these things were published anonymously because some of these people were like big writers or poets or whatever, and they didn't want to be credited with it.
They didn't want to be slumming it and Santa smut.
Kind of, yeah.
That makes sense, but just wouldn't you, knowing what it became, wouldn't you come forward and be like, hey, by the way, Santa was me. I had the Rudolph idea.
I did it. Well, we'll get to
We'll
Rudolph.
get there.
We will get to Rudolph. What a story that is. So here's some lines from what he wrote. Old Santa Claus, one word, with much delight, his reindeer, not plural,
only one,
drives this frosty night. Or, you know how they write back then, O apostrophe
but would
ER?
it be reindeers?
There's only one.
Reindeer. I think reindeer means multiple reindeer.
Well, there's an image, so there's an illustration.
Support.
So it'll be on Instagram.
Well,
it's
me then.
One reindeer, but thank you for trying to poke holes in it. His reindeer drives this frosty night o'er chimney tops and tracks of snow to bring his yearly gifts to you. Okay, so very important. He brings up reindeer. In an interview with the publisher Gilly, he said he still didn't say who the author was, but what he did say was that the author stated that far in the north near the Arctic, a series of hooven and antlered animals exist, and he claims to have heard they could fly from his mother being an Indian of the area. Okay. So like now, because this Native American woman, like, who had the son and tells the story of these animals that you see can fly for whatever reason it's part of their like beliefs, that is now trickled in. That's how we get this. So now we know that Santa flies. We know he's being pulled by a reindeer. Mm-hmm. We never really know why the reindeer can fly. No one ever explains that. It's just kind of what it is.
I just believe they can. I believe that too.
And then he goes on to say, but where I found the children naughty, in manners rude, in temper haughty, thankless to parents, liars, swearers, boxers or cheats, or base tale bearers, I left a long black birchen rod. Birchen rod.
What's a birchen rod?
Well, if you would stop throwing in your naughtiness,
black turd.
We are a perfect example of who's on
naughty and nice.
Yeah, I'm nice, you're naughty.
I'm getting a long black turd in my stocking this year.
I left a long black birchen rod, such as the dread command of God directs a parent's hand to use when virtue's path his sons refuse. He's literally leaving good kids toys, bad kids sticks, telling the parents to beat them with it.
Beat this kid with a stick,
Beat this naughty kid with a stick to get him to behave.
I mean,
I'm not against that. I'm not against that here with you.
You've seen my kids try to sit at the dinner table. Maybe I'll just keep a long stick on the table just as a threat. I won't use it, but I might need a beechen rod. They'll just be in the middle of the table.
So you're not going to leave a long turd for your kids to find?
No, my kids are good. They're not naughty.
So the book also goes on to mention the first appearance of Christmas Eve. So his contributions, this anonymous person, plus we'll give credit to William Gilly for publishing it. He introduces Christmas Eve. He introduces a reindeer for the first time, toys for good children, and punishment for naughty kids. You see, we're getting all these ingredients. At some point, they'll all come together into one thing.
You ever get a lump of coal?
It's interesting that you bring that up because there was a time when getting a lump of coal was not a bad thing.
Really?
People used to use coal for heat, and
Oh.
coal was expensive. Do you have a favorite present that you remember?
Favorite present? You know, I mentioned previously I got a magic set too old, which was a big one. And you know, I was just kind of whatever was the Disney movie at the time, that's what I wanted, like a purse, a pair of socks, just the whole like set of Little Mermaid. You know what I mean? Like whatever was the movie at the thing, the branded merchandise of the time.
I thought you meant you wanted like the clamshell VHS of that movie.
You know, I had the clamshell, that VHS, and boy did I like to bite it.
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of people chewed on those things.
Did people bite those?
I think so. I think that was a thing. We never really had those.
Oh, God. I could just close my eyes and I'm there with it in my hands, sneaking a little chomp, hoping nobody sees.
What was so satisfying about biting it?
It would have the perfect amount of give. It would give just enough to leave a little baby teeth indentation, but not enough to break. It was perfect. If you're out there and you bit your clamshell Disney tapes, I would love to hear from you.
I have a feeling a few people will write in about that.
That would
Because I
be
have
great.
heard other people doing that. I think that was the whole thing. Okay, here's a big one. We're only moving in time 1 year. I'm crediting this to two different people. Here's why. Clement Clark Moore usually gets the credit for this. There's been some people that have claimed they truly believe that Henry Livingston wrote this.
Wow.
They've brought in things I didn't even know existed, like literary detectives, where they can like count how many syllables or how
Sherlock Holmes?
basically 4 books. So they can be like, well, this person, we don't think he would have written this because look at everything he's written. He's never used this type of writing. And
That's like, feels like all the internet is now, is like detectives like that.
or people that want to be detectives
People
like
that want to be detectives, like on Reddit, where they're like, I found evidence of this from this thing and before. I feel like that's like everybody's favorite pastime. That's the whole internet now, is just detectives.
That's the whole Taylor Swift fan base.
But absolutely.
Everything she does. She blinked 42 times while she was singing that song. That
For
means this is
sure.
happening. Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and credit both of them. I don't have the knowledge or time or depth to be able to say, I think it's this person, so I'm just giving it to both of them.
Quit your job and crack the case. If anyone can do it, it's you.
No doubt. If there was some money behind it, maybe I would. So we'll just say at some point, one of these men sat down and put pen to paper and wrote the iconic words which inspired our cold open today. 'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house. Now, you go through this poem, we are really getting somewhere with the branding of Santa Claus. I won't read it all because it's too long, but I'd like to hit some points. 'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. So he's solidifying that Christmas Eve is the night that this happens. He's keeping stockings, which goes all the way back to the Dutch and with Sinterklaas.
Was
And
it stockings before this point, or was this kind of the first?
no, stockings did come up. At the same time people were doing the shoes with stuff, there were some people that also did stockings.
Did it used to be a sock? Like an actual sock?
Sure it was.
And then like one factory had like, they accidentally set like the sock size from small to giant, and they were like, what do we do with all these? And they're like, rebrand these as Christmas stockings. Do you feel like that's how it all happens?
I would love that to be the case. Because when you picture, I mean, I do picture a very long stock stuck on with a
nail.
A bent nail.
That's very Seussian.
And there's like 14 of them because back then they had so many children.
Kids, yes.
But yeah, there was no Target. They weren't going somewhere and buying a stocking.
It also feels like with consumerism, you know what I mean? Like more toys, more. Because what could you fit in just like a long, skinny sock? Like people are like, we want more presents, make the stockings bigger.
Oh, I'm sure as time went on, and especially in this country, yes, stockings got bigger and bigger.
And that guy at the factory, he accidentally set the size from small to giant and then it printed out all these giant socks, so they had to do something with them.
I don't know if we need to talk to this guy at the factory. I don't know if what he's doing is good or bad. At first, it seems like a mistake, but then it's also increasing profits because now we're selling so many of these
I don't know.
Christmas stockings.
We'll have to get him on the line.
All right. We'll jump down to
The chimney?
We'll get to that. When what to my wondering eye did appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer with a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment that it must be Saint Nick. Now, what's interesting, he's not calling him Santa Claus. He's only calling him Saint Nicholas or Saint Nick. But he keeps the sleigh and he adds 7 more reindeer to the canon of this story. But they're all tiny. I never really paid attention to that. In this, Santa is elf size.
Santa's a miniature man.
He's a miniature man.
Wow. And the reindeer are miniature reindeer.
And the reindeer are miniature reindeer.
It's really cute. I met a mini cow last weekend, and
Pardon?
I haven't stopped thinking about it. I met a mini cow last weekend, and I haven't stopped thinking about it.
That makes it seem like you were like walking down the street.
I ran into him on the street.
And he clopped up to you. He's like, pardon me.
I paid $10 to meet a cow.
You took the children to a petting zoo?
Yes, and this is a cow this is a sign of a good petting zoo. Well, first of all, this one was very well kept. It was very clean. The animals were happy, not sad, because a petting zoo can be sad, right? If it's in just like baking in the sun in a parking lot.
I went to one in like North Hollywood that they only set up at Christmas, like on this corner of like across from a gas station. And it's just a couple sad pigs and a few like sleeping ducks.
This was not that. The animals were delighted. They were happy. And there was a cow. Her name is Honey the Mini Cow. And they were advertising that she went viral in 3 days on TikTok.
I believe it.
Are there any less Christmassy words than viral on TikTok? Like if you're thinking of the three words that like are the polar opposite of the feeling of Christmas.
For an animal.
But she's a lovely cow. Check out Honey the Mini Cow. And I met her.
When you say mini, what are we talking, like shoebox? Like a shoebox size? Like, can I hold it in one hand?
No, that would be pretty small. I think that would be like the animal's ill.
Oh.
This was like the size of the biggest dog.
The biggest dog?
Maybe the biggest dog.
What about like one of those rolling garbage cans?
A rolling garbage can?
Like the size, like the garbage that you take out to the street.
This is the metric of measurement is a rolling garbage can. I'd say Honey the Mini Cow is 5/8 the size of a rolling garbage can.
Okay, now I'm really getting a good image of it.
There's a lot of images of her online. As I mentioned, she did go viral in 3 days.
Because a normal cow would be like 6 of those.
Yeah, so she's 5/8.
Okay.
You get an idea that she's pretty small.
Yeah, I can picture it. All right. So what's even bigger, what I find even more shocking than the fact that he's like, you know what? There's not one reindeer. There's 8.
Wow. Mind's blown.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to name them.
On Dasher, on Dancer, on Prancer, on Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner, and Blitzen.
Technically, because he originally called them Donder and Blixum, which stood for thunder and lightning. Over time, they have been changed to Donner and Blitzen. Blitzen, I always assumed, was like the one drunk reindeer. You needed the other 7 because Blitzen's just like flopping around up in the sky.
Great holiday movie. I think Seth MacFarlane, get on the phone, make Blitzen the drunk reindeer. There you go. Adult Christmas movie.
There you go. Give us 10%. You can use it. Okay, and so we have one more little part of his thing. Like I said, he brought a lot to it. I'm just going to read this last ending part. As I drew my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from head to foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ash and soot.
You would love that because you love fur blankets.
I do. I would love to hug Santa Claus
Oh
and
my God.
Oprah. That's like my bucket list of hugs. Santa Claus for his fur and Oprah because I just really want to be able to tell people what she smells like.
Honestly, I bet Santa smells great too. Probably smells like gingerbread cookies
And soot.
and soot.
He's like one of those like cool new candles where they're like smells like a burning building and jasmine.
Oh yeah, you told somebody the other day we were out to dinner and you were wearing a cologne that you were complimented on.
That's what made me just think of that.
Yeah.
I wear a cologne called Burning Barbershop. But they're like, in the 1700s, this hair salon burned to the ground and everything went with it. And all was found was this one vial of this perfume and all those scents are in there. So it's talcum powder and burnt hair and like all of these things.
Burnt hair isn't really the smell you think you want.
No, but
in
when
a
you
fragrance.
combine it with all those other things.
Barbicide.
Yeah, it's all, yeah. Stainless steel combs and a mustache wax. It smells really great.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Speaking of furs, have you brought your furs out yet? Because it's winter.
Not yet. I'll do it after the holidays.
Oh, okay, great.
And I haven't plugged in my electric blanket yet, which I'm also ready to do.
That's when you know that Christmas has officially begun. I don't care what it says on the calendar.
No.
When the electric blanket clicks on and the furs are on the bed.
It comes with such a weird plug that you have to put in the blanket. I'm like Doc in Back to the Future when he's like on the like top of like the clock tower, and I like have to like make these two things connect, and then my blanket's all warm, and I don't leave my bed till March.
Oh, I love that. One time you let me, my heat went out and you let me borrow your electric blanket, but you gave the trick of putting the blanket on the bottom, the electric blanket on the bottom of your bed.
Lay on top of it.
And then you preheat your bed with it. So when you get in, you're like a little lizard crawling on a toasty rock.
It kind of is. It's magical. If you don't have an electric blanket, and maybe it seems like an old person thing, I highly suggest you, especially everyone out in the Midwest, East Coast, even here, get an electric blanket. All right, let's finish this poem up. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, and his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and his beard on his chin was white as the snow. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. I mean, that paragraph...
That's Santa. That's Santa, baby.
He's like, here, history, here's what Santa Claus looks like.
That's major.
Here's a roadmap to him. I mean, it's incredible how much of modern-day Santa is pulled from this small little poem.
For sure.
I mean, you see this poem everywhere. It was the first thing I thought of when I did the cold open. It's like, you can't have Christmas without this thing. So basically, he gives us that roadmap. And like I said in the beginning, there's a lot of names to keep up with. I hope this isn't too much information overload on everybody.
Oh, you know the listeners have their little steno pad and their pen.
They better. And I guess I can pause it and take a break if they're like, this is too much Santa. But we're going to jump ahead 40 years. 1862, Thomas Nast. Thomas Nast is a political cartoonist. He gets a job at Harper's Magazine. He starts depicting Santa Claus in illustration.
Do you think people call him Nasty Boy?
No, I don't think anyone's like, hey, Nasty Boy, I saw your Santa cartoon.
Loved it. Way to go, Nasty Boy. Another slam dunk. I'm sure that's how they talked back then, right?
Yeah, in
Just like now.
1862. What's up, Nasty Boy? So he's a political cartoonist. He gets this job. He starts drawing Santa. The very first Santa he draws is also the very first patriotic Santa Claus. Santa Claus is wearing a coat that has stars on it. He's wearing pants that have stripes on it. He's gone up north to deliver presents to the Union. This is his way of saying the Union is the right side of history. That's why Santa's giving them gifts.
That's fun.
Now, only 4 short years later, in 1866, he draws this beautiful. We will put it on our Instagram, but you should Google it and look at it in as clear and large detail as you can.
God, how good is this picture?
It's incredible.
Wow.
It's incredible. It's like the first Where's Waldo? Kind of. Like, there's so much to look at. It's called Santa Claus and His Works. And it's basically a bunch of pictures with little vignette pictures all around it.
You know what this has me thinking?
What?
Back tattoo for you. Sounds like you love this picture.
But then I wouldn't even be able to enjoy it. Maybe I'll do it
tattoo.
here. I'll do it here on my belly. Very as a tribute to Santa Claus.
I love that. I love that.
Honestly, though, this picture's incredible. And some of the things that we get out of this, there's a place that he lists, which kind of doesn't stick throughout history, called Santa Clausville. What does stick is that Santa Clausville is in
the North Pole.
Now we have the North Pole. We
Great.
know where Santa is. So he introduces the North Pole, and then, like I said, there's all these vignettes in this drawing. We see Santa Claus making dolls. There's a very big emphasis on toys and dolls. We see Santa Claus spying on children with a telescope, and he has a big journal. No, not in a weird way. This is the whole naughty and nice thing. He's looking for the good kids, and he has a big book that he keeps track of.
He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake.
Exactly.
That's right, yeah.
We see him decorating a Christmas tree. It's the first time I've seen in any of these things a Christmas tree. We see that he's a stable for reindeer. We see that he goes out on Christmas Eve pulled by the reindeer. He's plump. He wears fur clothing, has a white beard. He's so close to being the Santa Claus we know.
Honey, I'll call this Santa.
You can't. Because he's...
I can't?
You can't.
Sounds pretty close to me.
What he still has not completely established, even though we are so close.
No belt.
No
Sack.
established color for his clothing.
He's not dressed in red.
No, because sometimes when he depicts him, he's wearing a brown. Sometimes he's wearing green. Red is not canon yet.
Interesting.
Which is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I'd say that's like one of his most iconic adjectives.
So then, while he's doing this, President Ulysses Grant, when the war ended, wanted to lift the spirits of the country. He finally makes Christmas a national holiday. So that happens in 1870. So now we finally have this day. We've been working for the last 70 years creating the
spokesman.
Exactly, the spokesman of this day. And it's pretty exciting.
Do you think, was Santa like standing on a big pedestal in the White House, like under a sheet? And then he was like, from now on, December 25th shall be Christmas. And then he like pulled a big velvet sheet and Santa was underneath.
I would love that.
And everyone's like waiting, like reporters with their like microphones, like waiting with bated breath. And he just goes, ho, ho, ho. And everyone like starts scribbling like, ho, ho, ho.
Everyone gasps when the sheet comes off.
Yeah.
Back then, everything made everybody gasp.
Oh, for sure.
If you had a group of people, at some point, they're going to gasp.
They're gasping because they hadn't seen anything yet.
They hadn't seen anything yet. Now they're seeing everything for the first time.
Wow.
So we now have Christmas as a federal holiday. Same time period, 1870, another name, James Edgar, opens a small, like, dry goods shop in Brockton, Massachusetts.
I'm not going to ask you if people called him Eggman. I'm not. I'm not asking it.
You should have, because his name's actually James the Eggman Edgar.
Oh, man. The one time I
The
don't.
one time you didn't. So he's the first person. In 1890, he was like, you know what? My store's doing well, but I wouldn't mind bringing more people in. He was already known for dressing up as different things throughout the year. Sometimes he would dress up as a clown
That's
or
fun.
a cowboy. Like, he was just a fun guy. He's like, I'm going to dress up as Santa Claus.
Maybe I'll start doing that to be more fun.
You should.
I'll just leave the house, drop my kids off at school, and I'll be dressed as a cowboy. And people will say, are you okay? And I'll say, I'm just trying to make life a little more fun.
Make it a little more fun. The next day you go out, you're dressed as a sexy Morton Salt girl.
There you go.
You get arrested.
It's
Your life takes a very different path.
Great Halloween costume idea. I mean, I don't go to those kind of provocative parties, but don't you know people do? Like, some people at Halloween, they'll just go out in like pasties and underwear.
Yeah, I know. It gives people an excuse.
It's very provocative.
It's very provocative.
So if somebody, this isn't really, I mean, you have now over half a year to plan your Halloween costume. So I'm saying consider Copper Tone Baby, pasties, and underwear, and a little stuffed dog exposing 2 inches of your butt crack.
I mean, if you get all that in a bag at Spirit Halloween,
That's right.
maybe I would do it. So he does this, dresses up as Santa Claus. It's an instant hit. This is the first time, one, Santa Claus is like a store Santa Claus. Two, it's the first time people are really able to put like a human face to Santa Claus.
Did he have like a dog face before?
No, he was a cartoon before.
Yes.
So kids can now, there's actually a quote I want to read from this guy who was in his 90s and the 70s who had gone to the store as a little kid. And in that interview, he said, you just can't imagine what it was like. I remember walking down an aisle and all of a sudden I saw Santa Claus. I couldn't believe my eyes. And then Santa came up and started talking to me. It was a dream come true.
Wow, that's really cute.
I mean, this is like a time like we joke about, but they haven't seen anything.
But don't you think too, like for any child now, going from the idea of Santa to seeing Santa in real life, that's got to be how it feels, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or going to Disneyland and seeing like a big Mickey walking around. It's like, what the hell's that?
I know. It's so cute to see kids that really are able to see that as something special and real. So it's a huge success. Kids start taking trains and coming from all around Massachusetts to see him. He really sets in motion the idea of having Santa Clauses in stores. That spreads. Other stores start doing it. Santa just grows from here. It becomes a much bigger thing, which is good and bad. So in less than 10 years, there's kids that start doubting whether or not Santa Claus is real.
Wow.
Because now there's so many Santa Clauses. They don't understand how he can be in every store at once, how he can travel the world all in one night. So, you know, kids were smart back then, inquisitive.
Yes.
And there's a very famous letter that was written to the Sun newspaper from Virginia O'Hanlon. Are you familiar with this?
No.
Asking, is there a Santa Claus? And it's a letter that's been republished over and over for the last 100 years. And the response that they did, Francis Church was the person that was given this letter, decided to write the response for it. And it's just become an iconic response that everyone publishes. And I'll just read a little bit of it. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. Virginia, your little friends are wrong. They have been affected by the skepticism of a skeptical age. They do not believe except what they see. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. He exists as certainly as love and generosity and devotion exist. Alas, how dreary would the world be if there was no Santa Claus? It would be as dreary as if there were no Virginias. No Santa Claus? Thank God he lives and lives forever. 1,000 years from now, Virginia, nay, 10 times 10,000 years from now, he will continue and make glad the heart of childhood.
If my kids ever ask me if they're Santa, I'm just going to start reading that until they walk away. I think that might be my strategy because I'm starting to panic. Like, what if that comes up with the 5-year-old? And I'm just going to remember this letter and I'm going to start reading it. And then eventually she'll just find like half of a grape on the ground and pick it up and eat it and walk out of the room.
Do you remember how you learned about Santa Claus?
It was never revealed to me. No, there wasn't any like confrontation. I think I was such a people pleaser child that I wouldn't dare upset my parents by putting them in that uncomfortable position of having to either lie or tell the truth and risk breaking my heart. It was kind of like, I'll just gradually realize and I'll let you have this because this is important for you guys. And we'll just all, go along our merry way.
I remember very distinctly when I learned that there was no Easter bunny.
What happened?
So for Easter, my family, we went through a time period where we had a camper. And it was so fun. Like, I only remember really going on a trip with it once, but my dad let us ride in the back. Like, this is a camper that just hitched to the back of our, like, station wagon.
Oh, my God. While the car was moving, the kids were in the back?
I mean, nothing could be more dangerous. It was like we were driving across the state in a washing machine. And he had rigged it so we had, like, walkie-talkies with, like, a wire that, like, went around into the car. So we could call him if there was an issue.
That's really cute.
So we were in this camper, and we went somewhere for Easter. And I had really wanted a rabbit as a pet. Mm-hmm. And I remember
Why a rabbit?
I don't know. I just thought,
where'd you see a rabbit?
Who knows? Probably from like a Trix commercial.
Yeah, probably.
So I was going to bed in the camper and I could see out and my dad was doing some stuff and he had a yellow legal pad and he always uses to write things and he was writing something, whatever. And then the next morning I got my Easter basket and I had a letter from the Easter bunny written on yellow legal pad paper. And it was like, "Dear John, I know you want a bunny. I'm going to get you one, but because you're traveling or whatever, I can't give it to you now. You'll get it when you get back home."
The Easter bunny is nothing if not sensible.
Very practical. And wrote it in my dad's handwriting.
Yeah, it's the same paper handwriting. This is giving me a lot of John Bonet case flashbacks. There's a lot of legal pad, same paper.
Okay,
stuff going on
I don't want to bring in one of the greatest murder mysteries of the 90s into my sweet childhood memory.
We didn't expect that to come up in the Christmas episode, but let's just say if you were trying to hide your identity, don't use the same paper that the family is familiar with. Let's just say that, okay?
That's fair. So let's jump ahead like 34 years. Like I said, we're almost complete with our Santa Claus, except for giving him a color of clothing to wear. That's where Coca-Cola comes in. Coca-Cola they tried for a few years with different artists painting Santa Clauses for them. Nothing was really sticking. They brought in Haddon Sunbloom. And man, oh man, did this guy change everything.
So you're telling me if Squirt had been the one to use Santa in their campaign, Santa's coat and pants would be yellow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
I can't imagine anything worse.
If Dr. Pepper had brought in Haddon Sunbloom, Santa Claus would be that dark purpley brown. 21 ingredients. Mm-hmm. I don't totally get it.
That's wild.
That's wild, right? So Coca-Cola, believe it or not, in the 20s was not the number one soda brand. Moxie soda was. Then we're coming up on the Great Depression. Coca-Cola's never been able to really sell in the winter. They feel like it's a summer drink. So they bring this guy in. They're like, listen, we need a good Santa Claus. We need people to want Coca-Cola in the winter. We're coming out of the Great Depression. And this guy just illustrates Santa Claus. When you picture Santa Claus, more than likely you're picturing the Coca-Cola Santa Claus. A lot of people think Coca-Cola invented Santa Claus. They really kind of just... They were given all the pieces It's like
in the hands of the right artist.
right.
It just
it's like
came to life.
You give all the ingredients
beautifully.
to a Big Mac to McDonald's, they make a Big Mac. You give those same ingredients to like a Michelin chef, and they probably make some like it's such an elevated version of that.
For sure.
And this guy just took all those things we knew about Santa Claus and just made him so iconic. He becomes larger than life. He would paint a new painting for them every year for 30 years. So it's 30 years of just this like large man who's always kind of like almost like a mischievous like thing, like he's sneaking a cookie off the thing, and there's like a fireplace lit puppy watching him, and he's like, shh, like don't tell.
That's funny because when that image of the Coca-Cola Santa comes to mind, he does have a bit of like a little cheeky, mischievous twinkle in his eye.
Totally.
And that's kind of a new personality for Santa.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. And he just really emphasizes the whole like warmth of Santa and the rosy cheeks and the big body and the fur, and chooses red as the color.
Right.
And 30 years of seeing Santa in red, that is now what Santa Claus is. And I do give him so much credit for taking all the pieces of the puzzle and just really making it what it needed to be.
We'd be nothing without him.
We'd be nothing without him. And Coca-Cola apparently has a whole museum of his paintings and stuff in Atlanta. I would love to see that at some point if I'm ever there. So we're done, right? That's Santa Claus.
That's Santa.
Ah. Or is it?
Uh-oh.
There's still one more man I need everyone to jot down in their notebooks.
Grab your notebook.
One more piece of the puzzle.
Sharpen your pencil.
So we have Santa all done. We really don't need anything else. But 8 years after he created that iconic Coca-Cola Santa, Montgomery Ward, which was a big department store at the time, every year they would pass out a free book to children for Christmas. It would keep them occupied while the parents went shopping. It was just something they did. They would always get those from a third party. In 1939, they're like, you know what? I think it would make more sense if we wrote our own book. So they went to their copywriter, Robert May, who was a Dartmouth graduate. He wanted to write the next great American novel. But he got married. He had a wife that was very ill. He had a young daughter. And
Sounds like me.
Yeah, basically, it's you. So he had to just work like like so many of us. He just has to have this job. And he said like he was basically spending his days writing the descriptions of men's shirts and electronics and stuff for this catalog. So they give him an assignment to write a kid's book, and really the only like direction they gave him, because the book Ferdinand the Bull was very popular at the time, they said maybe you want to write a kid's book about an animal, having an animal be the featured person. So he sits down and he's thinking about this. This is one of those things where there's definitely different versions of how he got to where he was going. The one I like is that he was leaning on a wall, looking out a window in Chicago on a very foggy night, and in the distance he sees the lighthouse and this tiny little light on top of it, and he's like, I wonder how Santa gets around in the fog.
Wow.
And he had already decided that he wanted the story to be about a reindeer because they'd already kind of been established in Christmas lore. So he came up with the idea, obviously, of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Wow. So previously there were reindeer, they pulled the sleigh, but there was no mention of Rudolph by name.
No, Rudolph didn't exist until Robert May spends the better part of this year writing this story.
This is huge.
It's huge. He bases Rudolph on himself. He was very shy as a kid. He was picked on.
Aww.
He wanted it to be an underdog story.
Shiny red nose.
Shiny red nose that saves the day. Like someone that can really like just have this triumphant moment. Clearly he does that. He writes the book. While he's writing it, his wife passes away. She had cancer. His bosses say, listen, if you don't want to do this anymore, that's okay. We'll find someone else to do it. He's like, I absolutely.
It's like, what would Rudolph do?
Honestly, I was thinking about this and putting myself in his own shoes, and like, it's like this light was like, he needed this as a distraction, but he also literally needed this light and creating this thing and putting it out in the world for himself.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it really is. So in that first year, they give out about 2.5 million copies of these books.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of these books that they were giving out for free.
So wait, those were all to kids who were in line to see Santa?
Any kid that came into a Montgomery
Came into the
Ward.
store. Okay,
yeah.
great.
It's like a free giveaway when you go to
Just
Montgomery.
to even think of a time where 2.5 million people were passing through the doors of a department store.
I know. You see footage of like people shopping back in those days, and they're just... And it was a
heaven.
nice book. I actually was like, I need to own this book and put it in my cabinet of curiosities.
Do they have them on eBay?
They do. They're a little expensive unless you get a really rundown one. But it's a nice, like, it's a really cute book.
Wow.
So the amazing story about this is that copyright is owned by Montgomery Ward. Long story short, he asked if he can have the copyright to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. They give it to him.
Very generous.
Very generous. He goes on to do the song, and like it's still, I believe, in the family's name. Like this kind of like he became a millionaire from this, and it really changed his life. It may not have been the great American novel, but it was definitely a great American story. And now a piece of the whole Christmas and Santa lore that we didn't even know we needed, but we can't imagine not having it.
I shudder to imagine Christmas without Rudolph's red nose.
Yeah. So there we go. That was the final piece of the Santa Claus puzzle that really created him as a brand. Santa, as you know, has gone on to be a spokesperson every December for anything. Like you can use him for anything to sell products. He is definitely a brand, but he's not like
licensed by anybody. So it's not even like the Super Bowl where like there's all these Super Bowl commercials, but nobody can say Super Bowl. You know how they have to say like the big game. Anybody can use Santa in anything and they can reference him by name, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I
They
love
just can't
that.
use other people's Santas. Like you couldn't use Coca-Cola's painting.
But you could have like a mattress commercial and you have like Santa saying like, on December 26th, this is where I like to rest.
That's not bad.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty
God,
good.
I am
God,
so
why are
good at
Why
coming
are we
up with
wasting our
commercials.
lives on this pod?
It's insane.
I mean, you know how much money you can make for a mattress commercial?
I imagine $1 billion. Is that like too low?
Probably $1 billion.
I have to assume anybody can use Santa. That's like, and so that kind of lends itself, I think, to his ubiquitousness. I mean, he's just like, he's everywhere.
Yeah.
He's everywhere.
Yeah, you can't own him like the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny.
Did you ever get a picture taken with Santa growing up?
You know, we talked about that before. I don't remember one, and I don't think I've ever come across one in any of the photos I have of my childhood.
Wow.
I asked my mom about it a couple of weeks ago. She says we did do that. So
5 kids, that gets pretty pricey. Maybe it's like, John, this is your year. Get on his lap. You have to wait 5 more years before you get a turn again.
they just put a red coat over a garbage can and pretend that we're with Santa.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember. I would love to see one, but I've never seen one.
I'd give anything to see a picture of little Johnny sitting on Santa's knee. Please, may I have a cape? It's all I want this year.
I guess plastic vampire teeth and a cape, please. God, that would be so great if I wanted to be a little kid vampire.
That'd be so cute.
So there you go. There's Santa. That's our Christmas episode.
Wow. Is there a man more important to the holiday?
All I'm going to ask Santa for is for you to get over this cough.
I want my bronchitis to go away. That's on my Christmas list. So, okay, so that is good to say. John, what are you asking Santa for this year?
Well, last year I had said, it was more like a resolution thing, but I had said that I wanted to start doing a podcast and have someone come and clean my home, and I did both of those things.
Okay, great. So you have a great precedent set that your Christmas wishes come true. So what would you like for next year?
I think it would probably...
Don't say rabbit. You know yourself.
Probably 2 rabbits.
No.
I'll name them Thunder and Lightning.
Okay.
No, I guess just more of what I've had this year. This podcast has been really good for me. Like, I've enjoyed doing it. I've enjoyed doing it with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I've been loving talking to the people that reach out to us. I hope we can just continue to do this and make it bigger. Is that like a cheesy thing?
No,
or should I
that's
be
great.
like, I want a new pair of pants? What do you want for Christmas? Another kid?
So my husband had a vasectomy, so that's definitely not on the table.
I'm sure one of them can wiggle its way out.
You know, he tested it.
And there was none?
Did I tell you this story?
No.
I told this story on a different podcast.
Okay.
So you have to go back for a follow-up appointment after your vasectomy to make sure that everything worked, basically.
Okay. So they basically do a squirt and see if there's anything
You
in
do
it?
a squirt and see if there's anything in it. So he went to this appointment by himself. I was at home taking care of the children, as I always am. You provide the sample at home. So he went in the bathroom. He deposited a sample. We'll say it in the most G-rated terms possible. He deposited a sample into a cup that they provided.
Okay.
Put it in a little paper bag, went to the appointment. I texted him afterwards because he had gone straight to work or something. I'd said, how was the appointment? He said, it was good. I had to top it off.
Top it off?
So to me, that means... Have you ever done like a urine sample where they say, this isn't enough or something? You need to provide more. Sometimes that's happened to me before where they're like, you have to pee more.
Well, there's usually a guideline, so you know.
Yeah, he said I had to top it off. So then I said to him, it wasn't enough. And he said, no, it just looked a little low.
In his own eyes?
In his own eyes, his sample looked a little low.
So he had like a 2-hour squirt and then was like, I'm going to add some fresh squirt.
I'll tell you, it was less than 2 hours. It was probably 30 minutes.
Okay.
A squirt at home, a drive to the doctor, a look at the cup, a self-consciousness, a bathroom of the doctor's office, squirt part 2, back in the paper bag, handed to a receptionist. My husband, can you believe it? Cranking off twice in 30 minutes.
I don't know why it seems dangerous to do, like...
Dangerous?
Like, to get an accurate read.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, ideally, there should just be nothing in there. Should just be like... Just gravy? Why did my mind say gravy?
Babe,
just
how
gravy.
Are we ending this episode on
the Christmas episode? I'm not ending it on just gravy. Yeah, so no more children in my future. I do need a coffee maker. If any coffee maker sponsors want to send me a coffee maker, I'll be happy to give you a shout out.
I would love sponsored gifts. That would be fun. Maybe this time next year we'll have sponsored gifts.
In the meantime, though, I'm very grateful and happy to be doing the pod. So even though we do this basically for fun, I find it to be the best gift of this previous year. And so my Christmas gift will be a coffee maker, yes, but to continue making great podcast episodes with my best bud, John.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Al, what do you want for Christmas? No, Al, come on. What do you want?
Al wants jigsaw puzzles and a wife. He's getting very brawny, quite buff. So if you're into a buff podcast producer who loves jigsaw puzzles, send a message to Al Pal. That's what my kids call him, Al Pal.
alpal@hotmail.net.
That's not right.
Earthlink, ask Jeeves.
Send us a message.
Send it to us. We'll get it to him.
So last week you were trying your new send-off, and then we reached out to everybody if they had suggestions for new send-offs for you, and you were going to want to try some of those out. Before we go, I will say, again, as I say at the end of every episode, if you love the show, please tell your friends. Please leave us a review on iTunes, on Apple Podcasts. Send us some messages on Instagram. We love to hear from you guys if you have a suggestion of a brand you want us to talk about or just want to respond to something you heard in the episode. And John, do you have a send-off for us?
Yes. So I want to say I haven't heard from Dean. Dean always listens to the show. He had the biggest first send-off of anyone. I didn't let him know. I'm wanting him to experience it blindly. So I haven't had the satisfaction of hearing what Dean thought of his sign-off. I've actually, in the past week, grown to really like it. But since I haven't heard from him, it's now going down a little bit in how I'm feeling. So this week, I'm going to do one. I got several submissions from True Blue 832. So I'll be doing one from them.
We'll see you next week. Bye.
Thanks, everybody, and lots of love from the glove.
Very natural.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.